I will start the presentation. And the presentation will be in two parts. In the first part of the presentation, I will tell you something about the history and the principles of bioenergetic analysis. And then we will have a pause, break. And in the second part of the presentation, I will demonstrate how this therapy works with people from the audience, some of whom have already volunteered to participate. And let me say at the outset then that the participants in the work, the volunteers, will have to sign a paper releasing the rights to the videotape to the Milton Erickson Foundation, because they will sell these tapes. So if you have any objection to this material being put before the public, let me know, or don't sign the paper, we'll find someone else. Okay. Now, I am Alexandr Lowein. I'll introduce myself. And I am the founder of bioenergetic analysis. But it is a mode of therapy that is based upon the work of my teacher, who was Wilhelm Reich. I met Reich in 1940, a long time ago, when he was giving a course at the New School for Social Research on what he called character analysis, called his work character analytic vegetotherapy. What impressed me about the announcement of the course, that he talked about the relationship between the body and the mind. And he described that relationship as one of identity and antithesis. It so happened that at that time I was myself trying to understand the relationship between the body and the mind. Of course, as I found out later, it was a problem for me how to integrate these two aspects of my own personality. So I met Reich, and he allowed me to participate in his course, which I found very exciting. I had been, at the time I met Reich, I was a teacher. I had been a director of many athletic activities, and I was also an attorney. I wasn't a doctor. That came later. But I had the experience throughout my youth that my own body activities, the things that I enjoyed doing in my body, sports, for example, as I say, I was an athletic director, tennis, basketball, handball, and other sports, swimming, really gave me the real sense of what it is to be alive, not my head. And when I was actively engaged in these pleasurable physical activities, I felt great. And I remember once when there came a time when there was no opportunity for them, I began to sort of get a little depressed. Not mine. So I worked on myself physically to try to get some good feelings back in my body. But then I met Reich, learned about his basic concepts, and in 1942, that's 2 years later, I went into therapy with Reich. Now, Reich's therapy was very unusual. He asked me to lie on a bed, and all he said, I was undressed, and all he said was, "Lowin, breathe." Well, that was easy to do, so I lay there and I breathed. And then he said, "Lowin, you're not breathing." Well, I said, "It's impossible, I'd be dead." Too smart an answer. But he said, "Your chest isn't moving," and it wasn't. And he asked me to put my hand on his chest. You can try it, put your hand on your chest. And breathe so you feel your chest moving, because most of us don't let our chest move. That is, the walls of our chest move. Try it. Give a sigh. They hear you. You're not dead here. Just breathe. Just breathe. That's good. Cheer up. And this went on for some time and seemed to be going very normally. And then he said to me, "Lowen, open your eyes wide." And as I opened my eyes, I screamed. just screamed. It came out of me in a high-pitched scream, and as I heard it, I wondered where it came from in me. I'd never screamed before. I didn't know what I was screaming about. It was as if I was listening to someone else scream. Well, at that time it was a spring and he had a window open, so he didn't let me scream too long. I stopped. We repeated the same exercise a few minutes later, and again I screamed. That was the end of that. Then the session ran on for about an hour and nothing more happened. I walked away from that session and I said, there's something in me I don't know about. And I'm not as healthy as I thought I was. And so we continued the therapy, and it consisted basically of breathing and letting your breathing happen freely and spontaneously. And some very exciting things happened to me. Well, after about some months of therapy, I don't recall now whether it's 6 or 8 months of therapy, as I lay breathing on the bed, I had the sensation that I would see an image on the ceiling. And each session, that sensation became stronger, and I was sure that one day I would see that image. And then it appeared, just appeared. And I saw my mother looking down at me. And her face had an angry expression. And I felt as if I was a little baby in a carriage. And I had the awareness that I was in a carriage, I was outside the house, and I had been crying. And my mother came, and she was very angry that I wasn't quiet. And she looked at me with this angry expression, and I froze. I didn't make a sound. That scream that I didn't make when I was 9 months old came out in the first session with Rice. And then I knew something about my childhood. Well, other things like that happened in the course of therapy. On one occasion, just breathing now, I felt myself being moved without my doing it. I was lying down, I sat up. I use the word I did it, I didn't do it, but my body got off the bed, I turned around, I sort of beat that bed, and I saw the face of my father. And I knew immediately he had given me a spanking, and I was angry at him. I wanted to kill him. All of this happened spontaneously. Well, maybe a few other things happened that were very nice, and the therapy continued over time. I, at that time, went 3 times a week, and the purpose was simply to allow yourself to breathe freely and deeply. Give into your body. Let it be alive. Let it come alive. Well, at the end of 2 years of that therapy, I took a break for a year. When I came back, something had changed in me. I could breathe deeply without any effort. And as I breathed deeply and freely, my pelvis just moved up and down with each breath. Forward with the breathing out. Breathing in, it went backward. Breathing out, it went forward. Breathing in, it went backward. I didn't do it. I just breathed. The pelvis was moving by itself. Now, I had known, because I studied with Rice, that movement he called an orgasm reflex. Because the same movement happens in sexuality when you're having intercourse. If you breathe deeply, your pelvis will begin to move by itself. And when it does, you're in for some joyous experience. Now, I wasn't having intercourse. I was simply lying on a bed for therapy. But the same movement happened, and I could feel a sense of joyfulness. In fact, I remember on one occasion I was sitting in a restaurant and breathing, and all of a sudden my pelvis began to move. As I breathed, now I'm doing it now, of course, see? But then it was happening by itself, and I had the same feeling of joy. Well, after that, I knew that this was my future. And I became, several years after that, I became a Reichian therapist because there were very few people who understood his work at that time. His books were he had written many books in German, One he called That Function des Orgasmus, The Mass Psychology of Fascism, and some other books. He was a famous analyst in Europe, but not known in the United States, and somewhat of a black sheep in the analytic community, because he believed that if you had full satisfaction sexually, you would be a healthy person. There'd be no neurotic problems. And he said that in his work with the German patients before he came to the United States, that happened, that they surrendered to their body, their breathing was free, and they were fully healthy. Well, it seemed I was fully healthy. The only problem was that when I went out into the world, it didn't happen as easily as I lay on his couch. And when I had relations with my wife, it did happen, but only rarely, and I knew something wasn't working yet. And when I then went to medical school in Switzerland for 4 years, and when I came back, I determined to do some more work on myself, because I could sense that there were unresolved problems in me, largely on a body level. I could sense that I wasn't enough into my legs, which gives you a good feeling of security and support. And as I say, I wasn't getting the same orgastic response in sex that I had once and that I experienced simply as orgasm reflex in therapy with life, and I wanted it very much. After all, it's really something to want and to have. So I did some work on myself, and then I asked my colleague John Perakis to help me a bit, and we worked together, and he worked with me. And I elaborated the principles of bioenergetic analysis in 1954. Okay? And in 1956, we founded an institute, and then somewhere later we began to teach it. The reason I broke from Reich and started a separate development of his work was that I felt that the simple technique he used with me and others didn't hold up. His personality was very strong, and so when he asked you to breathe and you surrendered to him, it happened. But it didn't happen when you left the therapy, and if it did happen, you lost it, because he had not worked through analytically or physically all the problems. I felt still considerable tensions in my body. I'll talk about those a little later. And also that the path was not gone into deeply enough so that my character was fully and clearly delineated. But the idea of working with the body to get that kind of beautiful feeling, okay, was something that I knew was the correct way to go, for me anyway. Now, bioenergetic analysis is based upon that simple principle. It's, you see it there on the board, I have it here, of what Reich calls the functional identity. That means that they are the same, and antithesis, which means that they're opposite, of the body and the mind. Now, to understand that, you have to see that as a dialectical situation. That is, if you look at the chart on the board, you see that the arrows are pointed against each other. That's the antithesis. See, the body influences the mind. The mind influences the body. So they're acting on each other. But on a deeper level, as you go down, they're not two separate things. You are not a mind and a body. You are a person with a mind and a body. Like, I'm not two people because I have a front and a back. This is two different aspects of me. And your mind and your body are simply two different aspects of who you are. What you say is one aspect, and what your body shows is another aspect. And those two aspects are identical. You can't be two different people. So, what that means is that when I look at a person, and for that matter, when you look at a person, you see that person just as clearly as if he said words to tell you who he is. For example, you don't need somebody to come up to you and say, I'm a man. I can see you're a man or a woman. The body tells me that. The body tells me a lot of other things. And the beauty of this approach is that the body often tells you more about the person than he knows about himself. Well, that's not surprising because we know, being therapists, that people block out their self-perception. They deny it. They repress feelings. They're not fully in touch with themselves. Nobody is in this culture. But on the other hand, you being an outside observer have no problem. You don't have to repress. You don't have to deny. You can see it. If you can read the language of the body, see, that takes a lot of experience. I think children read it very well without going to, they don't need any training. I mean, they either like you or don't like you. They respond to you or they don't respond to you. Of course, they can't verbalize what they feel, but it's there. Now, let me say a few words about what each side represents. If you look at the side of the diagram that's body, body obviously represents movement. The body moves. The mind doesn't move. The cells in the mind don't move. There is no movement up there. There are some circuits, you can call them electrical or energetic circuits in the brain, like a computer, but a computer doesn't move. A computer can't go from here to there, but a body can. And because it moves, you have feeling. There's no feeling in the brain. No feeling in the computer. You can cut a brain open with a knife and the person feels nothing. That is done routinely in cranial brain surgery. And, well, then if you look at the other side of the thing about the mind deals with, instead of movement, it deals with images. See? Images can fit across a screen. See? But there's nothing really moving through space, in a sense, with an image. Images don't move through space unless the person in a mirror moves through space and then the image follows him, but it's just an image. Images can be verbalized and therefore give rise to thoughts, see, as opposed to feelings on the body level. So you've got thoughts on the level of the conscious mind or the mind, feelings on the level of body, movements on one hand and images on the other, and finally you get the phenomenon that the body deals in quantitative phenomena, the brain only deals in qualitative phenomena. For example, if I say red, it's red. See? But if I say I'm angry, you can ask me, how angry are you? Oh, now you're dealing with amounts. See? There are no amounts in images. There's no numbers you put to an image, only to feelings and to movement. So those are the differences. Now, how do you work with the body and mind? Well, to tell you the truth, every therapist works with the body not as much as he does with the mind, but after you sit opposite him, and he talks to you, and he sees you, and he's observing your movements, sometimes interpreting them, sometimes not. See? But the body is in the therapeutic process. See? And mostly it's focused upon the mental processes. What do you think about this? You talk about what you did, he explains it to you, or you get into a discussion, transference, or anything like that. But generally, it's relatively not highly charged. See? Now, Freud learned that for a person to change, there has to be a cathexis. That is, there has to be a charge behind his thoughts, feelings. Feelings can change people. Ideas cannot change people. Ideas can arouse feelings, and see, because of the unity, the idea translates itself into a feeling, see? And there's action. The feeling is a powerful thing. But the idea itself is impotent. All right. What we do in bioenergetic analysis is we do what I do is as much analytic work as any therapist does. I talk at least half the time. And even when the patient's doing physical work, as you will see, I might talk to them. So there is a connection on the mental, psychological level. But at the same time, we mobilize the body. Now, let me go on a little more about this whole body-mind thing. Next slide. If we look at the hierarchy of personality functions, see, I have two triangles, one with a base on the bottom, the other seemingly with the point at the bottom. The one with the base at the bottom is those personality functions as seen from the ground, see, from the base of the triangle on the ground. And these are two different views of reality, and I'll explain that to you. Both views are valid. For example, at the top of the personality functions is the ego, the conscious mind. Mine, yours, everyone. directing everything that's happened as I'm doing now. Conscious of what I'm saying, aware of you, speaking to you. That's the conscious mind. On a layer beneath that, my mind is organizing what I'm going to say. I'm thinking. Okay? If it stopped there, I would be all in my head, as most people are. Luckily, it doesn't stop there. At the same time that I am conscious of myself and thinking about what I'm going to say, I feel myself right now. I move my legs a little. Generally, I like to stand, because when you stand, you see, you have to feel your body. And when you feel your body, you have a different quality about you than if you're talking from your head. Now, I don't mean to be critical, but most people are in their heads too much. And they walk down the street like this, and sometimes it gets so bad that they don't forget where they're going, because they're thinking. We know that, see? All right. And then you get down to feeling. Now, what do you feel? What is a feeling? If you let your arm hang at your side for 5 minutes and don't move it, it goes dead. You don't feel it. Everybody has had that experience sometimes. They wake up and say it's asleep. It's dead. No feeling. If it moves, you can feel it. If you put your hat on your head, after a while you don't know you have your hat on the head, because it doesn't move and you don't feel it, see? So you can only feel that which moves, and a feeling is the perception of the movement. That's all it is. Perception of the movement. Perception involves a mental activity. Movement involves a physical activity. They come together and give you a feeling. And it could be a light feeling, or if it's a strong feeling, it's because the movement is a strong internal movement. But when you get of course you have no personality functions when there's no movement at all in your body. You know why? They bury you. You're dead. When you're dead, you have none of these. You haven't got an ego, you haven't got mental processes, there's no thinking, no feeling, no movement, nothing, no energy. Now, movement requires energy. So that underneath the movement, there are energetic processes going on in your body, the production of energy necessary for movement. But the other diagram shows this in reverse. And the reason I put them up is these two views are correct. At one moment, when I go into my body and let myself feel down into my feet and let my thinking quiet down, I have a whole different sense of myself. See? I'm not a thinking, acting, directing person. I just am, with a nice feeling. On the other hand, as I am here, I also have to be very much in control. That's an ego function. The ego is like the general, you know. He sits up at the top or in the back, and he controls where the troops move. And my head controls, to a large extent, where I move, which is reality. But both aspects are valid. You have to be able to be in control of yourself from an ego level. But you also have to tell this general, look, I don't have to be generalized, directed, controlled all the time. I can be free and be myself. So you have these two aspects of reality, and they represent a very strong dynamic principle in nature, which is that the opposites are always true. You have an up, you have a down. Right? You have dark, you have light. You have life, you have death. In nature, everything, as far as we can perceive it, is in opposites. So here I put in another diagram, a third one. We go to the next one. But I'm taking this from a little different perspective, and I'll come back. I was very impressed reading in the existential psychoanalysis how they divide the levels of the personality differently than I did, although it's based upon the same thing. They have what they call an Eigenwelt. Eigenwelt is the world of your self-consciousness, what you dream about, think about, your organization of ideas, etc. I don't know how they translate that, but that's the world of self-consciousness. Then there's a world in which you exist where the important thing are your social relationships, your interpersonal relationships, what you do in life, relationship to a spouse, to your children, to your work. But under that, there's a world they call the Umwelt, the world of the body itself. Now, therapy that involves merely one part of that reality is limited. Whether it's the Eigenwelt or the Umwelt or the Mitwelt, as they call the world of, as described in existential literature, the world of interpersonal relationships. And I think every therapy has to combine all three of those. You must deal with the person as he perceives himself, is aware of himself in his thinking and his feeling. You must deal with the way he relates to the environment and to his social contacts. And then you must deal with the world of the body. And if you do all three, I think that's really doing bioenergetic analysis. Now we'll take the next slide. Here, the idea of two interacting forces, which gives you the two different views of reality, is something that is deeply rooted in all human thinking. I mean, two different forces, good and bad, God and devil. The Chinese believe in two different energies. They call it yin and yang, and the circle with those diagrams, one representing the black, representing the yin, the light side representing the yang, lie side by side in an anharmonious relationship. That's the essence of Chinese thinking, the harmony of the relationship between these two different forces. Yin, the ground, the earth; yang, the heaven, the sky. Two different qualities, see? And that's something we must understand. If you go into the next figure, I really should have drawn the lines across. No, not the next. I want to go back to the previous slide. Can we? Back to the previous slide. Oh, here, get it. There we are. You have a six-sided figure, and I'll go into that more. Six-sided figure represents the two triangles superimposed on each other, see? So that, if you can imagine, you have one triangle, and then the other triangle, and again you have the interaction of two different forces, heaven, earth, and here we can think of them as male and female, interacting. Male principles, not there's a way in which males and females do superimpose and merge with each other, and that's shown in the galactic superimposition drawing, which is a picture of the spiral phenomenon, spiral nebula, which Reich showed was really a superimposition of two forces whirling around each other. If you read Freud, you will see at the end of the book, I say this is what happens in sexual intercourse. Let me take the next slide. Here we're talking about, now getting closer to the therapy idea, here we're talking about therapy and what therapy is about. Now I said that energy is the key to all personality functions. It's the key to life, of course. No energy, death. See? Our body is an energetic system, and we have to constantly keep that energy up. And when that energy is strong, we are very alive. We have much more feeling. Thinking is clear. And when it decreases, that's depression. That's all depression is. Decreased. Depressed. I mean, it's so easy. Just let it collapse, the energy in your body. No little feeling, confusion, no motivation, etc. Now, when you talk about energy, since energy is the key to all personality functions, thinking, etc., how much energy you have is an important criterion of how you function. How you function reflects how much energy you have. Well, suppose you are depressed. What do you have to do to get out of it? The answer is very simple in its theory, maybe not so simple to do. You have to increase the person's energy. As his energy level is raised, he comes out of his depression. Now, you cannot go to a gasoline pump, buy some gasoline, give him a shot, or plug him into an electric circuit, and say, I'm out of my depression. Although I will tell you, they have used electric shock on people to get them out of schizophrenic states. See? But that's a different story. The production of energy is natural, There are no pills that give you energy. No medicine gives you energy, not a single one. You can't buy it in the pharmacies, can't buy it in the grocery store. Because you get your energy from food. See? We all know that. People don't have food, their energy is depleted and they die. But food alone won't give you energy. Food alone, in the sense the more you eat, you can blow up like that, become a pig without much energy. And we see that in people. Because for the food to give you the energy, it has to be metabolized, and that means an oxidation. You have to burn the food. If the food doesn't burn, it stays in your body as potential energy, but not used, not mobilized. To burn it, you have an oxidative process. Food plus oxygen gives you energy, plus carbon dioxide is the basic, one of the basic products of the result of combustion. And water, and that's called an oxidative thing, and we do that in our bodies, and that's how we get energy. We burn the food we eat, we oxidize it. Now, energy gives you movement, we see, movement gives you feeling gives you integrated thinking, because feeling and images go together then, and the more energy you have, the better that line moves towards the right. Now, you can say lower the energy, but we don't basically lower energy. What we do as human beings is we cut off feeling. And when we cut off feeling, we suppress that whole process, depress it. So that you cut off feeling, you have to inhibit movement. So movement is feeling. And then the energy gets decreased. Now, why do people cut off feeling? We all do it. Listen, there isn't one person in this room who is breathing as freely and fully as animals do. Not one. Unfortunate, but that's the state of the human being. Never saw a fat horse. Fat pig, yes, because they can't move. But a fat horse, you never see a real one. I mean, one that's free and wild. Wild animals never get fat. See? Have beautiful bodies. They are free. And they're balanced with nature and in themselves. Well, why do we cut off feeling? Well, the answer is very simple, because there's too much pain in our feelings. Too much fear, too much sadness, too much despair, too much anger. You know? We can't stand it. We have to cut the feeling off so we can function in the world, and energy level drops down. If it drops down low enough, we're depressed. If it stops, we're dead. Okay. Now we come to the next slide. Here we're getting into what one can do. It says breathing is the key to life and to energy. Well, we know it about energy because, you see, through the breathing you bring in the oxygen and get rid of the CO2, carbon dioxide, which is the waste products of metabolism. And we see that Wright was right to put his emphasis on breathing. If you get a person breathing, you get them more alive, and everything begins to move and feel and think. He actually said that he came across this as a psychoanalyst. When he was sitting behind his patient, as analysts did then and most do now, and the patient was just talking about something, and suddenly he stopped talking. Now when that happens in the middle of a thought, the analyst, as you heard yesterday, say resistance. He was resisting the flow of thought and the feelings that would accompany it, not letting them to come through. That's a basic form of resistance. And Wright recognized it as resistance. And instead of saying you're resisting, and the patient then could have denied it and get a nice argument, and have to explain, Wright saw that he was also not breathing. He went still. And all he said to him, breathe. And the guy started to breathe, and all his feelings poured right out. He began to cry. All kinds of dramatic changes happened in him because the dam of energy had been broken, that dam, the energy, and it began to flow. Okay. We have to understand breathing if we do work with the body. It's the key to the body. It's the key to life. Breathing there's a mechanical aspect to it in which you take the air in and let it out. there's a biological aspect to it in which the body itself breathes. Okay? For example, the lungs don't just expand and that's all. When you breathe in, inspiration, the whole body does it, not a limited thing. A wave starts in your deep pelvis, fills up from the bottom up with air. Well, actually, the air doesn't get down into the deep pelvis, but the feeling of filling up starts in the deep pelvis and ascends up into your mouth, and the air comes in. See, it's as if this is the opening to the balloon. See, balloon expands and it sucks the air in. And then the reverse happens when you breathe out. There's a wave that moves from your mouth all the way down to your pelvis. Remember I said that when this wave moves down freely and fully, that pelvis starts to move by itself. And what it indicates is that your body at this point is completely free of any blocks or tensions or inhibitions. And of course, when you are so free, it's a state of joy. And very few of us are free. Well, we look at people's breathing, and I'll do that. I'll show you how we work with it and how you can see it. When we look at people's breathing, we say that the movements are very limited. For example, the chest doesn't move like it happened with me. Or it stops somewhere around here. It doesn't go deeper. Or the throat gets tight and the person can't breathe. But there are blocks to the breathing in every person. Some people breathe very shallowly up in their chest, and others breathe diaphragmatically. But a full breathing, full natural breathing, you only see in little children and animals. You watch a little child breathes down like that. The whole belly goes up, out, and then it goes down. Watch a cat breathe. Watch a dog breathe. And you can hear it, the way it moves in and out. And that is the basic pulsation of life, that breathing. Pulses. Expands, breathing in, contracts, breathing out. Why don't we do a little more? I'm going to do a little more. Breathe. Come on, just go on. That's it. Do a little with it. Go ahead. Let me take a minute. Let me take a minute out to get you breathing deeply and let you feel some energy. How about that? All right, what you do now, I'm going to show you. It'll come back to the work. Put your arms over your head. Stretch backward, for God's sake. Now breathe and make it. In. Oh! Out. A few more. Come on. Breathe. In. Out. One more. In. Out. But hold your hands over there now. And just breathe into your belly. See if you can breathe way down here. Just breathe. Easy. 10 breaths is all you have to take for this experiment. Can you feel it breathing into your belly? Movement. You don't get the air there, but the movement. Can you feel it? As you breathe, your belly moves, fills up, seems to fill up, go out. Nice sigh. Okay. Now let your arms come down, but keep breathing. Don't let me hear such a deadness in this room. Okay. Now as you're breathing, voice, by the way, you see, is very important because the moment you make a sound, you got to breathe to get this voice. Give a sigh and take your hands just like that. Hold your hands out a little. Don't let them drop. Just a little relaxed. Breathe now. Concentrate on your fingertips. That's the focus. Mine are already doing it. Keep breathing. For God's sake, don't be so quiet. You can even laugh. Huh? Well, I'll be heard if you breathe. How many people feel a tingling in their hands? Tingling. Well, good. Do it a little more. You'll see it get stronger. You're focusing the charge into your fingers, and you can feel it very strongly. It's an energetic charge. Can you feel? If your hands drop like that, it doesn't work very well because you don't. It's got to be like. Now, take your two hands and approach one to the other slowly. slowly, and keep breathing. Oh yeah, there it is. You can feel something between your hands, palms. Comes and goes, but you can feel as if there's something there. How many people feel that? Between? Yeah. If you do, that is an energetic field that develops when your hands are charged. And there's an aura around the hands when they're charged, and you can see that if you're sensitive to auras. Now turn to a neighbor just for the fun of it, and place one hand over the neighbor's other. See, one hand's flat, one hand's over it like this. And move the fingers so the tips of the fingers are a half-inch away, 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters, and you can feel the energy pass from the fingertips of one person to the fingertips. Few pricks of energy. Not everybody feels it, but not everybody's alive enough to feel it. See, that's the problem. That's good. I like a little life in the audience. I tell you, since you're game to go with a little feeling, all right, let me ask you to use your voice a little louder. Listen, put your head back a little, right? And what a scream out. You see, I get my patients to do that. Because the moment you do that, you come alive. All right, let me go on to the next drawing. Well, let me say that to do bioenergetic therapy, you have to have a soundproof room. No question about that. The next drawing, and this one goes back to basic concept of energy concept, which is the pulsation, that basic concept of pulsation. That's the pulsation that occurs in the heart, as an example. See, expansion, contraction, and every expansion is a movement from the center of the organism, whether it's the heart or solar plexus, movement of feeling, energy, feeling outward. You see, when you reach out, you're expanding. When you pull back, you're contracting. We know that. You feel an expanded state, you feel in a contracted state. See? That pulsation goes on all the time in the beating of your heart. If that stops, you're dead. And that, again, the beating of the heart, the breathing in the lungs, all the cells pulsate. In that sense, it's very much like in the cosmos, the stars pulsate. I mean, you can see that, and that's known. Now, in next slide, here we take the concept of pulsation a step further. What I've shown you again is a six-pointed figure, see? And put in the concept of a center, a core, and the 6 points in that figure, I'll stand like this. The 2 feet, the 2 hands, see? The head and the genitals. See that 6-pointed figure? Amazing. 2 triangles. Now, the meaning of that is clear because pulsation is all this like that. If you expand and your energy moves to the surface, it charges the periphery. See? If you contract, your energy moves back into the core and the periphery is cold. See? But you see, there is a harmony and a balance in those 6 points. It can't pulsate more in one direction than another as a basic principle. There are modifications, of course. So that you cannot have more energy, really more energy, in your feet than in your hands. Now that's subject to some modification in practice because you can focus the energy a bit, somewhat. Okay? But As a general principle in terms of the body, that's true. But what is equally true is that you cannot have more energy in your feet than you have in your genitals, man or woman. And you cannot have more energy in your genitals than you have in your eyes. These are all the 6 points of contact. The head, the main point of contact with the world is the eyes, the ears, the tongue, the taste. The feet touch the ground, the hands touch objects, see? And the general contact is always with a member of the opposite sex in nature. Anyway, how can you tell how much sexuality a person has? Sexual feeling. I mean, everybody's got sexuality. How charged the person is sexually? How can you tell? Huh? Say it loud so I can hear. How? Oh, it's very easy. Their eyes. What happens to their eyes? They light up. If they light up there, it lights up here. Oh, there's no question about that. And people in love, we know they're in love. Their eyes are shining, right? Radiating, shining. And they're alive, and they're sexually alive, etc. And in working with people, since these points are equally charged, if we get people to feel their feet strongly, I mean, I'm pressing down so I can feel my feet, then they come up and say, oh, the room got brighter, and their eyes are light up brighter. Amazing. You can move the energy knowing the dynamics of the work. See? So we get people who have very poor eyesight, and using the bioenergetic techniques and some help from the ophthalmologist, I've had people, one of our trainers, a woman, wrote about the problem, her eyes. She was almost blind, 20 over 400. That's a very low figure. She ended up being able to see without glasses at all. Now, let me go back a little to the next slide. And we talked about pulsation as a basic energetic process. Here, the pulsation has changed. Instead of just being expansion and contraction, it now becomes a flow. And this began when the unicellular animal that life first was on Earth became multicellular and developed a longer body or a bigger body. And then, instead of just expanding and contracting, flow began to occur in the body and tubes began to form, see, which allows more complexity to develop. If you're a single-cell animal, there's very little complexity and it's relatively limited. But here, you see, quite a complex organism. And to get the tube, what happens is there's an invagination in the single-cell animal, so a tube develops. And you get the structure of a tube within a tube. So you can see the dotted lines. And, of course, you have a worm, caterpillar, worm. Worm is lower in evolutionary development than a caterpillar. Caterpillar is, after all, an insect, and a worm is still only a worm. But the principle is the same. You watch the movement, see? What happens is if the movement's this way, you see the wave going the other way. So you see the wave going through the worm and it's moving through space. It's such an exciting, simple phenomenon. And of course the worm has a mouth at one end and a tail end, and it takes food in at the mouth end and lets it out at the tail end. And it takes the food in as it moves through the ground, an earthworm or a sandworm or a worm in decaying material. It's a basic process of life. We have that same thing in our body. We take food in this end, let it out this end. We have a long tube, and we have a pulsation, a wave that runs through the tube. We call it peristalsis. It moves the food. Let me go to the next slide, because this is... The worm stands up. But there's still the phenomenon of the tube within the tube, see? The tube in a person is composed of the outer tube. The large voluntary muscles of the body that surround the body are like a big tube. And in that tube, you have the tube, the breathing, and the alimentary tube that runs through from one end to the other. And the peristaltic action, which is the wave going through them, occurs in both tubes. In other words, when you breathe, and you see people breathing, you see the wave on the outer tube, but the wave is also occurring in the inner tube, in harmony with the wave in the outer tube for the air to come in and then be released, etc. You see, I've also shown you lungs, which are part of the inner tube, and the inner tube is composed of different musculature. It's called the smooth muscles as opposed to the striated muscles of the outer tube of the body. The muscles of the outer tube of the body are under conscious control to a great degree. If I move, for example, that's because I can control the action of those muscles, but I can't control the actions of the smooth muscles. They are not subject to conscious control. They have a different innervation from the autonomic nervous system. The other is an innervation from the voluntary nervous system, which is connected with the forebrain and the centers of consciousness, where the other nerves are connected to the lower centers of the more primitive organism. Now, next slide. In this one, I'm showing you that there's a segmental arrangement to the body. Like a worm. A worm has segments. Well, a caterpillar, you see those nice segments. Now, we are composed, I would say, approximately 10 in the head, 6 in the neck, 12 in the thorax. 10, 16, 28, 32 segments approximately, 4 in the sacrum, 4 in lumbar, 32, 36, something like that. Each segment has its own nerve set, voluntary nerves. So you have 10 cranial nerves, one for each side, they come from the brain, 6 nuchal nerves, 6 nerves in your neck segment. And as you know, in the spinal cord, there are openings at each segment for the nerves to come out and go through your body and control it. So you've got the segments. In the head, the 10 segments of the head are all fused in the course of development, so you can't separate them except by the nerve function. But what I've got here is that in a body there are 3 major segments only: the head, the thorax, and the pelvis. The 2 segments known as the neck and the waist are connecting segments, see? They join, the neck joins the head to the trunk, to the thorax or trunk. And the waist is the connection between thorax and the pelvis. Now, it's interesting. If you're integrated, the connection between all 3 of those segments is open, so that you are not, a head without a body without a head. You don't function on one segment alone. You don't think in your head and everything else is, dead. See? But everything is coordinated by the flow of the excitation through the body. All right. I think that's simple enough to explain, so we'll go on to the next slide. Here you see that there's a distortion now, and distortions occur in many forms. You'll see that in the bodies and in people. Here the neck is too long, the waist is too long, the segments are separated from each other. Now you say, what does that mean? Well, it's very simple. The head segment has to do with thinking. There's no question. That's the ego and the thinking process. The thorax has to do with love, the heart's there, and with feeling. And the pelvic segment has to do with sexuality and reproduction. So when you get a person split like that in their segments, what happens sexually doesn't connect to their heart. What happens in their heart doesn't connect to their head. And they show aspects of multiple personality, actually. They may be brilliant up in this head function, but has no connection to what they feel, and sexy, but no connection to any other part of the body. Or you can get a compression so that the neck is shortened, the waist is shortened, and there is really no flow. It's all held. Now, of course, you cannot completely separate the segments because that's death. See? But you can diminish greatly the integration in the personality, so the personality has a real sense of himself. How can you imagine a person? How would you imagine a person would feel? If all 3 were active at one time, he'd be split in 3 different people at one time. That doesn't happen. But it's very confusing to know who you are if these segments are not connected. Okay, next one. Here we have a diagram that shows the emotional pathways. I'll sit down for a moment. When I say the emotional pathways, energy, waves of energy or excitation, pass along these pathways. One in the front of the body, from the genitals to the face, mouth. One along the back of the body, from between the eyes, all over the back, and around the buttocks to meet the two meet there. The point of meeting is here and here. And the energy goes out from those points, so we can direct the energy through our eyes, consciously, or it's directed through our genital area. Now, the red pathway deals with impulses of aggression. Aggression in the positive sense of the word, to move towards, but not necessarily dismissing the negative. You move toward, the word aggression in its primary meaning is to move towards. Okay? You can move towards someone with affection or with hostility. You can move to embrace him or to hit him. You can reach out in a nice way to take or to reject. See? Those are all aggressive moves that you make with your body. Along the front of the body, the feelings have a longing, tender quality. Feeling here is one of tenderness, to be close to someone you like, to embrace, to kiss, suck, the contact feeling. Okay? And so the front of the body is soft to allow that contact to occur. The back of the body is tighter, much more muscular, etc. Now, when you might say, how did I ever find this out? Well, I felt it. I felt a wave of excitation or energy go up my back, come over the top of my head, and go right into the fangs. Oh, just like that. You know what happened to the hair on my head? Stood up. Now, it may surprise you, but I can still do that. I can bring that energy up. I can feel the hair go up. As that energy rises, I can feel different quality of feeling in me. Then you can let that recede, and then tenderness is a different feeling. So it moves along the front. Now, generally, we're not supposed to manipulate our feelings. I didn't manipulate it. I just have enough contact with my body to be able to allow these things to occur. These two channels of energy, does anybody know acupuncture? They're the main acupuncture channels. Those are the main two channels for the acupuncture. Same movement of energy is. We deal with in therapy. I didn't know that when I developed this. Now therapy, the next slide, and we're getting down to... Being alive is a matter of self-expression, you have a self, and you're only alive to the degree that that self can be expressed in the world in one way or another. Birds sing, cats meow, dolphins make sounds, all animals. It's some way of expressing themselves in their movements, in their voice, etc. Now what I've done here is to show you that the outer tube of the body deals with these broad movements, moving my arm. It even deals with the moving of my lips, jaw, legs, or any other part of my body moving towards or away from. And it consists of two types of qualities of movements. One that's deliberate, another that's more spontaneous. Okay? The more spontaneous movement has an involuntary aspect and gives rise to feeling. The deliberate movement is more mechanical, and there isn't very much emotional feeling in a deliberate movement. But in a gesture, you can feel. Now the nice thing is to be able to combine them so that there's always some feeling in your movements, and no movement is ever just a pure mechanical movement. When the movements are free, you have two qualities that come out. One is that you're coordinated in your movements so they're very exact, and the other that they move in a flowing way and look very graceful. Now, gracefulness is a criterion of mental health. No question about that. Because you can't be healthy on one level and sick on another. And if you are graceful in your movements, you are gracious in your manner, and you are a healthy person. Because if you know from autistic children and schizophrenics how awkward they are in their movements, they are jerky. And too many people have jerkiness in their movements. Gracefulness and your ability to coordinate so there's a sureness in your movements, they are focused. On the other hand, when self-expression, on the other hand, the inner tube, also you can express yourself. Not in what you say. The words don't express you, but in how you say it, in the quality of the sound. So if I want to know who you are in your self-expression, I ask you to make different sounds. And you find that most people are very limited in their ability to make these different sounds, like that high-pitched scream. We work with that. Next one, then we're through with the presentation. Next. See, in a conference like this where so many different presenters come with different views of what therapy is about, all of them have some validity, but it's important to understand what the therapy is about that you want, what it can offer you, what you need. For me, therapy isn't a problem-solving thing, although that couldn't be a part of therapy. It's not that for me. My wife is a therapist. She's an excellent counselor. She knows bioenergetics, but she's got such a sense of the realities of life that when she works with people, just talking to them and counseling them, she is so effective. She changes them. But in a deeper sense, I see therapy as recovering yourself, a voyage of self-discovery, because you lost it, or a good part of yourself, back in childhood somewhere. And you come up as an adult and you're limited in your ability to express everything you want, you need to say, to feel, to express, etc. And we're going to try to give you back the sense of, give it to you back. You're going to try to regain a sense of self. There are 3 steps in this. Since the self is a bodily self, which we accept now, it means that to be aware of yourself is to feel your body. Any part of your body you don't feel diminishes you, in the sense that you don't feel your legs. You're only a self from here up. It's a limited self. Most people don't feel, all of themselves. A few people feel their backs. That's a little bit normal, but it's also a little bit pathologic, because you should be able to feel your back too. Okay. See, we're so concentrated in our heads that we feel sometimes very little below the head, even at this moment, because you're listening. I'm going to have you realize how little you feel in terms of your body by asking you to push your ass backward and deep into the seat. Push it back. Push your ass back. Sit into it, for God's sake. Feel it. This is an important part of you. Feel it. Come on. No, it's a great feeling to feel yourself in there. Can you feel it? No, just stay with it. It'll change your breathing. It'll give you more of a sense of self. And feel your legs, your feet too, even as you sit. So you're not all up here. Okay? So self-awareness, people walk around, their shoulders are up like this. You say to them, why are you holding your shoulders up? Am I holding my shoulders up? Look in the mirror. You've got to get people in touch with their bodies, because that's who they are. And to be able to express all feelings, because those are the movements of the body. You have to be able to express your sadness, your fear, your anger, your love, fully. And if you can do that, and you can contain the strong feelings and express them appropriately, so you've got a full sense of self, self-esteem, competence, joy in your body, and life is great. If you haven't got all of that, you're crippled. And again, I hesitate to say it, but most of us, including myself, are somewhat crippled. And that's a sad thing, to spend your life in a crippled state. And then as you get older, suddenly say, well, my God, I didn't have as much pleasure in life, of good feelings I wanted, because of the crippling. And you're crippled by what happens to you in childhood, and that's why, of course, we have to do therapy to help you regain that aspect that you lost as a child. Why your parents say, be still, be quiet, don't make any noise, don't, you know? Here's a little light there. And they, of course, suppress the aliveness of the child, and then you lose the ability to really be a free, fully feeling person. And you're handicapped in every aspect. You're handicapped in your professional life, and you're handicapped in your social life, you're handicapped intellectually, and you're handicapped sexually, in my way of looking at it. And our job, of course, is to help you regain that full sense of all your faculties. Now, when I say it's a voyage of self-discovery, I don't want to tell you it's an easy voyage. It's not easy. There are severe, powerful blocks in the body which say, do not feel. Don't feel. Tied up to despair. Don't feel your despair, because you may not think you want to live anymore. And a lot of us occasionally feel, I wish I were dead. What sense of living? Don't feel your fear, because it paralyzes you. Don't feel your anger, because you want to kill somebody. And don't feel your love, because then you're vulnerable. Shit, what's the sense of living? You can't feel. All that has to be worked out. The problem, of course, that cuts off the feeling are chronic tensions in the body. Because since feeling is movement, any movement that you block, reaching out softly with your lips for a kiss, softly, cuts off feeling in life. Freedom of the shoulders, the movement of the hips, the sexual movements, etc. All of that's restricted by the tightnesses in our body. And the question is how to free up. Now, I am not a therapist who will tell you how to succeed in life and business, or to be successful in other ways. It's not my interest. But how to be more alive, with more good feeling, and more contact with your fellow man and the people you love, is really what bioenergetic analysis focuses on. How to help you open up, because we're closed in by these tensions. So we open up your movements, we open up your voice, we open up your breathing, we open up the pathways for your sexuality. And each effort to open up a contracted area is painful. It's stretching out a tight muscle. And that stretching it out is painful till the muscle relaxes and becomes soft again. Now the pain is there before you feel it. Okay. I mean, people will go through 50 years of their life and suddenly say, oh, I have pain in my lower back. Well, the tension that caused that pain was there when you were 20. But you kept moving. You didn't feel it. It gets worse and worse, and finally you can't move so freely, and you feel the pain. Patients come into therapy, and I look at their backs and their lower back. It's so tight. I mean, they're like this, stiff up in here. I say, does your back hurt? They say, no. I say, it will. It will. If you do therapy, it'll hurt. But pain is life, whereas not feeling is death. Now you have to have courage, because some of that pain is pretty severe. Fear can be quite frightening. If you read Freud, the latest book I wrote, I speak about the fact that people are afraid of dying. And they hold on, like hang on by the skin of their teeth for life, but they don't live. And they live in this fear of dying. Well, if you breathe, you won't die. I guarantee everybody that. But then they're afraid of too much feeling, because then that can drive you crazy. So you've got to work these problems out. And it's a long process. it's a worthwhile process, all I can tell you. If you work with your body, understanding it, feeling it, you will often need the help of a good therapist, because it's a voyage through hell. It's scary, painful. You may think you'll never get out of that hell. A therapist can take you through it on one condition, that he has gone through it himself. If he's gone through his hell, he can take you through yours, because it's the same hell in all of us to some degree. The idea of therapy as a voyage of self-discovery is reflected in the famous poem, The Divine Comedy, a poem written in the 15th century by Dante, in which he describes a passage through hell. And he relates how he found himself in a forest, lost, frightened because he heard the roar of a wild beast, didn't know his way out, didn't know his way back, and he appeals to his protectress in heaven, Beatrice, for help. And she says that, well, I'll send you a guide. And she sends him the poet Virgil. It's written in the story of the Divine Comedy. And Virgil says, I will lead you back to your home. Home is always paradise, the real home. But we will have to go through hell, and then purgatory, and then into paradise. See? And I will take you there, and I can take you through it because I have been through it. So a therapist cannot help you any more than he's been able to work on himself. Go through his own hell, come out as a free person, see? Not afraid. So there's a requirement in many therapeutic modalities that the therapist himself first go through his own therapy, his own analysis, but fully, and come out feeling that he understands what the hell is and how to get through it. Well, don't be frightened of living. Even if for a while it gets pretty painful, dying is painful. I would like to ask the people who would like to work with me, and some have already volunteered to meet me up here, see, during this break, and we'll just talk a little about what we will do, and we'll do the therapy right here in front of you. I did mention that the people who come up have to sign a release for the Institute. Don't be frightened if you hear some loud screaming in therapy, people getting very angry. Good. We're going to come right here. And we'll take a 15-minute break and then resume. All right, let's get to be seated so we can begin. And let me start by saying that if you're interested in training in bioenergetic analysis, I would suggest that you speak to Mr. Steckel here. He'll be here till at the end, and he'll give you some information about it. We have training centers, 2 big centers in North Germany and 2 other parts of Germany too, and in fact around the world. Now, somebody asked me, what's the difference between bioenergetic analysis and other forms of body work and analysis that are going around? Well, let me say about any therapy that the key element in the therapeutic process is not what you do. That's not what you do. Not whether you do body work or this or that. The key element is understanding the patient, or the client. Understanding. If you don't understand the person, you can't help them. You can give them an experience, but you can get experiences in lots of different ways, and they don't add up to any real change in the personality. Now, we try not to work that way in bioenergetic analysis. You will see that what we do is to get to know you with our professional skill and your help. And once we understand the deep issues in your personality, see, we keep working on them, helping you work on them, deeper and deeper, until finally you are freer and freer. So when I said reading the language of the body, the first thing is to see the person and know who they are. And this is a problem for people because they were not recognized and seen by their parents. I mean, you can look at children who have such sad looks on their faces, and the mother says, "Oh, he's such a happy child. He's quiet." I mean, oh shit, you know. The mother doesn't see the pain in the child. They don't see the problems. And we've all grown up with that kind of a response from our parents. We were not seen for what we felt and who we were, and not understood. Now, I have to tell you about a case. I just got to fix this a minute. It's in the wrong. Just to give you an idea of the importance of this concept. This was a woman who came to me. She was in her 30s. She was a computer expert and very troubled in her personal life. Nothing to do with problems, just troubled. I had met her once before, but I couldn't work with her because I didn't have the time, so I sent it to a colleague or some colleagues in the city, and she came back, called me some months later and said it wasn't working. So I said, okay, and we made an appointment, and she came back. And she lay on a couch, which I use. It's just like these mats, except it's a bed, really. And I looked at this woman, and she had a little face, small face, not very alive, no bright eyes, but a body that was full and soft and well-shaped. In fact, too soft, like a ripe pear. You know what a ripe pear is? A ripe peach, I should say. Had the color of the peach and ripe. So here you've got a personality with a baby face, or an immature face, a very fully developed woman's body, but too soft. Now, how do you understand that? It's a big split in a personality. A brain that's sharp enough to be a computer expert, an ego that's childlike, and a body that's too feminine. I said to this woman, Mary, I said, I must tell you, I don't know why you didn't either go crazy or kill yourself. Now that's something to say to a person. And she said to me, thank God somebody sees the hell I've been in. And if you don't see it, you can work therapy until tomorrow. You get nowhere. You work around these things. Oh yes, she has this experience, she has that experience, she did this exercise, she screamed, etc. It means nothing. You've got to see the person, you've got to understand the person, you've got to make a connection with the person, and then help them work through the problems that you see. Now, that's in the art of therapy. Techniques mean nothing. I mean, it's important to understand the principles, but how you work with those principles depends on your skill and your own personal development. I was telling you have to go through your own hell. Your compassion for the people you work with and your understanding of the problem. Okay. I think we in bioenergetic analysis try to really deepen our ability to make the connection with the patient that will help them with the exercises we do, etc., to grow, come out of the hell they're in. There is no technique to therapy. It's a very personal interaction. What I'm going to do is not massage your muscles, not do anything, simply get you to breathe. Point out where you're not breathing, help you understand a little bit about who you are, and you'll be amazed at what will happen. So let's start with the first person, and Spawn, let me say this about the stool.
My name is Thomas.
Thomas, oh, he didn't.
It's easier.
It's easier, yes. Let me get this in this hole here. Okay, you stay right here. Now take off your shoes, take off your glasses, and take off your shirt and pants. Now that body would be exposed. Oh, well, listen, if you're going to look at bodies, you're not going. If you wear clothes, you can cover up. I can't see what's going on. And when we say look at the body, we mean look at the body. See it. And I'll tell you what I see and how. And if you can put the glasses on the table, put the glasses on the table. Okay. Now, it isn't just only looking at the body, it's getting to know the person. So I will ask Thomas to tell me a little about himself. And how old are you, Thomas?
39.
30. Are you married?
I'm married, yes.
Okay, children?
One.
Okay. And what kind of work do you do? You're a therapist.
I'm a therapist and medical doctor.
Good. Have you done much body work with yourself?
Yeah.
Do you know where the tensions are in your body? See, I know. Oh, yes. Excuse me. We have a setup here, and I forgot to use it. Hello? If you hold this. He's a physician, Thomas, and he does some body work. See? And I was asking him if he's aware in his body where the tensions are.
In earlier times I had a lot of problems with my back, but nowadays, and also with my eyes, with the glasses, and the last time I had more problems with the stomach.
Yeah. The whole intestinal system. Well, that's
yes,
the stomach
intestinal
up here,
system, with the colon.
Colon, that's right. Yeah.
The small colon.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, while a person talks, I look at the points he mentions and see if I see the things he's talking about or what I see, and I will tell him a little in a few minutes. Now, how many children were in your family, your original family of birth?
I have one older brother.
All right. And what did your father do? I'm a broad question, but I've got to know a little bit about background.
Forward? What do you mean with
work? What kind of work did your father do?
My father, he is also a medical doctor in China.
All right. And can you say a few words about the relationship you had with your father?
He had to do a lot of work, and he came in the evening at 7 o'clock, and so I didn't see him a lot. And in the last 5-10 years, I had a better connection than in the earlier days.
Yes.
Because of therapy and
sure. And do you remember whether you were afraid of him when you were a little boy?
Yes, but not so much. He was not aggressive with me, or he didn't beat me very much.
And your mother?
I'm very excited.
That's right. And your mother, Thomas? Just get a picture.
Yeah. Oh God. My parents got divorced when I was 5. 5? 5, yes. And my physical mother, she had a lot of struggling with my father, and so I think was what I found in my therapy that she didn't have a lot of time for me, and I was I took more care for her than she for me.
Now, if the body is underdeveloped, thin, like in Thomas's case, we call that somewhat of an oral characteristic, and it denotes the fact that the mother wasn't there enough in her capacity of nurturing and loving and supporting the child, which you say, right? And you see that in the thinness of the body structure, and especially it affects the the region of the abdominal canal. Also, if you look at the way Thomas stands, you see, there's a lot of insecurity in his legs, and he locks his knees, and they just like are rigid. Do you know that about yourself? See? And I see it right away. So aren't you aware there's a lot of insecurity in you?
Yes, in early times much more.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Still now.
No, it's still there.
In a moment.
Now, if you look also, if you watch, you see here at the beginning the creasing that occurs, and it's a thin waist, and it tends to cut across here and split the two halves of the body. See, he knows that too, and I see it right away. All right. Have you done much work with breathing?
I should have done. I know about this, but I didn't do much.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, and you realize you could use more energy. I can see that you don't have as much energy as you should have as a man. Do you get tired easily?
Pardon?
Do you get tired sometimes? Tired.
Yes, but I also work a lot, so I think that's natural.
Okay. But the body is a body that can be overstressed easily, and therefore you feel tired a lot of the time.
I guess it's more that I don't feel the tiredness. Yeah, I overdo it.
Right. You overdo it. And that's a way of not feeling feelings in general.
Yeah.
See? All right. Now, the key then would be to do some breathing and see how well he breathes. And you can be sure that he doesn't breathe strongly and deeply because there's too much tightness, isn't there, through here? Yeah. See, he knows that, and I know it. This stool is a little painful. If you want an easy, painless therapy, go to somebody who talks all the time. You want to work with the body, I tell you, you've got to be prepared for some pain. But no damage, it won't hurt you, it'll just be painful because you're too tight. I get over this stool every day, not every single day because I didn't have one here, but very, very regularly at my home, you know. And I do these exercises that I use with my patients for myself. Let me take this. Let me ask you to come around with your back to this. And I'll put, let me see if I can organize this a bit. Here, what we do is we put a chair like this back of this or a bed. Put this part of your back on it. Now what he's doing is the same thing you did when you stretched your arms over your head. Remember that? And to get the sound and open up the breathing. Now he's doing the same thing here. Now reach your hands back, Thomas, like that. And open your mouth. And, well, you got to be a little higher, just a little bit up. Right there. See, so this is the breathing center in the body because this is where the main bronchus divides and goes to each lung. Open your mouth and breathe. Just watch the movement of the body. Where it moves, where the breathing occurs. That's it. And you get a sense of where the holding is, and then you have to begin to understand it. Now if you notice there's a little movement here. Not much movement here. Very little down here. This is very flat and very tight, and that's the reason for his troubles with his small intestine. Whole tension here. See? A little better as he keeps. Now, since this is, I would like to see something happen for him, and I haven't got. When you work with patients, you work a whole hour at a time or 50 minutes, and I can't do that here. So I'll speed it up a little, and you'll excuse me, Thomas, okay? If I speed it up. Make it. Start. Good. Now what?
I can stop, yeah?
Yeah, no, I mean, I speed it up. I'm not going to hurt you. Yeah. Now make a sound. Look. Oh! And keep it going. Now, see, the sound is too flat right away. Try it. Look. Oh! And too short. Look. Breathe. No, breathe. Don't make it. Breathe again. It's getting better, but breathe. Keep it going. Listen. Oh, keep it going. Keep it. Longer, Thomas, longer. It's all right. We'll get there. You have to make an effort. That's it. That's good. Now breathe. I've got a guy. Breathe. Just breathe. Keep it going. Now breathe. Don't make a sound. Breathe. In. Breathe. Breathe. Yeah. Now we get a little breathing. You can hear it. You can see the movement now. See it? Now we have to work on that because, you know, if you don't breathe, the less you breathe, the more dead you are. That was good. All right. Ready?
Thank you.
Good. Now keep it going still longer. Still. Just keep it going and going. Keep it going. Even longer. Easier, not so forced. It's very important to work with them. Longer. All right, breathe. Don't make a sound. That's better. We're just working on the breathing, pumping it up, trying to get some life into the body so we get the feelings in. The feelings will come.
No,
Huh?
excitement, but
That's right, don't worry. You just let me guide you. Listen, not so forced. Keep it going longer, see? Breathe. That's good. Breathe now. Just breathe. No sound. Breathe. Just keep working with it. Huh. That's good. Good. Bring the feet a little closer together. That's it. That's good. Not so close. Just a little more like that. Just like that. Hold knees like that. Not. Yeah. Just breathe. Good. Let's see. We're getting the movement now. And that's the purpose of this. Good. That was a good one. Now, there's no substitute for breathing. Without the breathing, nothing makes any sense. If you breathe, you charge up the body, and then it will start to open up with its feeling. That's good. Excellent. That's good. Very good. Okay. Now, can you do that once more, the sound? Keep it going longer still. And you listen to the quality of the sound. And if he keeps it going long enough, you will hear the emotion. Oh, go ahead, just easy. Keep it going. Softly. Keep it no longer. You're still too short. Keep it going. Keep it going. Still longer. Keep it going. Keep it going. That's very good. Breathe now. Just breathe. That's it. Good. That's it. Good. That breathing is good. A couple more times, but as long as you can. Keep it going. Keep it going longer. Still longer. Right away again. Go ahead. Keep it going. Keep it going. That's good. Now breathe. Just breathe. That's better. Breathe. Now, you probably won't be able to pick it up as easily as I can, but I know what the issue is here. If he breathes softly and deeper, he'll cry. Is it easy for you to cry? Or hard? Here, come up a minute, guys. Put your hands here, Thomas. Now breathe. Stay there. Put your hands here. Huh. That's good, don't it? Just breathe.
feel a mix between resignation and anger.
Right.
Something, it's like a decision.
He says he feels caught between resignation and anger, and he can't decide, you know. He has to make a decision which way to go, but he can't go either way. You know, don't you sense that? Now, the crying is hard for him. See? So I'm going to ask him to try to let a little crying sound out. And he's got all his sadness and pain locked up in his belly. That's why he's at the colitis, and he can't let it out. Crying is from the belly. I mean, try to feel it right there. Okay, good. That's all right. Sure. Now, let it open it up. You can't cry. You're stuck in a dry place, like this hot weather with no rain. It's terrible. Crying moistens the body, softens it. Now, we'll try one more time, but come up first. Let me show you. Ready? And bend forward. You know how to do this extra grounding, what we call it? Dizzy? Pardon? Dizzy? A little bit. You're going to get dizzy if you're not used to breathing enough. Look, put your fingertips like this here. That's it. Now turn your feet a little bit in. Now bend your knees a little. That's it. Like that. Hold it. Hold it. Now keep breathing. That isn't, and a little straighter in the knees. A little straighter. Like, hold it right there. Now what's happening now, if you watch his body, it's very slight, but there's some vibration that begins in his legs. Can you feel a little?
Yeah.
Well, let it happen. That's healthy. Let yourself vibrate a bit, we say. Put him forward. Go ahead, now keep it going. Good. Now that vibration as he breathes will get stronger, and that's the body attempting to loosen up. See? Trying to shake itself loose. Very good. Breathe. That's it. Excellent. Good. Now you hear the breathing. I don't know if you can hear it there, but I can hear very clearly. Can you hear it from there? Good. That's excellent. That's it. Good.
Like to get rid of something.
That's right.
Get rid of something.
Well, get rid of the tension. He wants to get rid of it. He's too tight. So now then it just shake itself loose. Good. Good, that's it. That's it. Too tight here? Well, don't try. Just let the breathing do it. If you just give in to your body, does it hurt your neck? Yes, but you can't get free by shaking it loose with your conscious control because it's unconscious. You've got to just let it get loose by itself through your energy. Keep going, breathe. Good. Good. That's the way to breathe. Now the vibrations are coming up higher. Feel it? Stay with it. It's all right. That's good. That's good. Now, Thomas is breathing very much better. It wouldn't make any difference if he knew more or less. The health depends on whether you breathe or don't breathe. That's the bottom line. So that's a good development. One more time. Come on up. And I'm going to put him across the stool where he is most tense. Come up here. Right here. This is a tight area, you know. Dizzy too much? Dizzy now from breathing because he doesn't breathe normally enough. Put it here and we're back. Put it right here. Let's see. Yeah, right there. Right there. This is, and go back to the hands. Is this hurt? All right, it's good like that. That's it. Easy. This isn't the best place to do this work on stage with no carpet on the floor. And this is very strong because it's forced to breathe here. You can see the the movement there. Now make a sound. Oh, more louder. Try. Yeah, well, that's his anger. No. Okay. I'm going to stop him because that's an anger that's impotent. No, ease relax. Put your hands here again. Lift the head a bit. Now, just breathe. Breathe. Good. Push this down. Oh, see, that's the trouble without a rug and other things here. Push this down like that. And just breathe. Put the head back a little. Just breathe. Good. That's better breathing. That's good. Breathe. Can you feel some sadness in you?
No.
Well,
it's more anger.
No, the anger isn't real. What he's saying, I'm not going to cry, and I'm angry. You see, but the whole appearance of the body is that he wants to cry and needs to cry and can't give in. See that? That's the issue. That's good. Now drop the pelvis a little. Drop it, down, not up, down, yeah. It's a little dip. Now bring the feet closer. That's good, Thomas. Now just breathe here a little bit. That's it. Good. Now we're getting breathing in the abdomen, which is where you sense that, don't you?
The most tightest here.
Yeah, but that cuts you off, see, from here. Good, that's good. Now come on, bend forward again. Give me a hand out a bit. And bend forward. Just reverse. Good. Now he is a little angry too, and I'm going to have him do a little some releasing of the anger, and it may open up the crying. And I need somebody to help me move one mattress on top of the other. So we just pick these up, put one over here. We only have. Now, bring them a little forward. Up here. Good, thanks very much. All right, good. That's good. Very good. That's good. Now, he knows his issue a little now. This is characterological. See? The body structure tells you that there's a sense of weakness in him, which is real. And he's trying to hold himself strong, not to break down. He said, I'm not going to break down and cry. I'm going to be strong. But in trying to make himself strong, he cuts off his breathing, and so he's lost. If he would cry, he would get strong from the flow of the feeling, not from the holding. You understand that, do you? You know that. Well, come on. Come on your back on the mattress. Let's see what you can do here. Put your head up that way, Thomas. And so, go a little, all right, it's a little higher. Then we talked about self-expression. And this part so far doesn't deal with very much self-expression except with the crying. Let out your pain. Crying is the emotional release. Now we can go a step further. Here, put it. We can go a step further and get him to express more feeling. Now hold on here and kick the bed like this. Look, Thomas. Just kick. Let me hold a watch. Just hold on to the bed. Now kick with the legs. Look, 1, 2, good. Kick, hard. Raise him up. Higher. Come on. Raise him. Now, kick and say varum. But see if you can say the varum very loud and long. Varum. Varum. Why? Sure. No. You're going to. Put some feeling into it.
That's the problem.
Oh, yeah. That is the problem, right. Well, louder.
Fire up, fire up, fire up, fire up.
No. That doesn't sound very convincing. So we will show you how. Your problem is to sustain the voice. Look. Sustain it as long as you can. Come on, and loud. Oh, started out okay and collapsed. All right.
Like breath that's not on it.
Yeah.
Like empty.
Empty, yeah, I know that. That's why you're in trouble. Try to force it. How about that? Try. John! Still loud. Try. No, don't stop. That's better. Don't stop. Still louder. Come on. Yes, right. That was better. You didn't believe you could do that, did you? Better. Well, I can't do therapy on the stage. I can only show you some of the things. How do you feel? It's more open?
It's very frightening, but there's nothing inside.
Yes. Sit up a bit. I'll get you. Let me get him. Sit right here. Sit down. Relax. Say that again. You said it very well. What you just said to me about very frightening.
Yeah, when I was screaming and it was very frightening that there's nothing inside. It's so empty, and that is like an N. It's nothing. It's going on from this point on.
Now the therapy would aim to fill him up. It could do it. The therapy could fill you up, but you'd have to keep working at it. You know. Now I'm going to. Because he's the first one, therefore I could spend a little more time with him. I'm going to show you an exercise, have him do that I do, which I did this morning in the hotel. And it'll get him breathing, and it's a very simple exercise. But you see, doing exercises is meaningful only if you understand the problem. Okay? And the problem that Thomas has is that he feels a sense of emptiness, and he has held in his crying. See? So when you tighten up and hold in your crying, it's empty because you can't breathe. See? All right, now lie on the bed again. I'll take the... and just an exercise to get him breathing. And what you're going to do, Thomas, is kick 200 times, 250 times like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll count for you. Kick. Look, 1, 2. With the legs, like you kick. Way up.
What way?
Don't say anything. Just kick. 1, 2. Raise them up. And on the flat of the calf, not on the heel. Look, Thomas, on the calf of the foot, right here. Yes, it's better. Yeah, go ahead. 1, 2, not too, go ahead. $18, $20, I'll count it in. $30, $40, that's good. $50, $60, $70. But no, stop. You've got to go 200.
But it feels good.
Huh?
It feels good.
It's not enough yet.
Getting warmer.
Getting warmer, of course it is. Now, hold up. It works only if you don't stop and to catch your breath and then start again. That's no good. You got to continue. And if you just keep it going, you breathe. That's all. You pump the air. That's it. Keep it going. Now, this exercise is an emotional... Kaput. But at least for a first time, you know, in a setting like this, he did very well. Don't you feel better?
Yeah, much better.
Good luck. Would you be surprised if I told you that I kicked 500 times this morning? Well, that's where I get my energy from. Breathing. See, otherwise I wouldn't have it. Okay, now who is the next one, Heine? Ladies.
Hello.
Have you ever done this work before?
No.
All right. Now, I hope you don't mind taking off a few things so we can... Go ahead, don't hesitate. Nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing that... Yeah, not everything. Just the... You have a bra? Yeah, and the pants. Yeah, we'll take the other top things. That's it, sure. I mean, that's... Good for you, good for you. Now, how do you say your name? Inman. Imma.
It's a short name from
Yeah.
Immaculate.
Ima. You can see right away that Ima is a body that has much more life. You can see that. And that's what, much more energy, much more life. There's no question about that, see? Now, there's only one problem with her body. Major problem. Take this off. No. Should we put the watch? I'll hold it for you here. We'll put it right over here. Stay straight like this, because I have to read the body, right? Now she isn't, in spite of all the strength in her body, there is a big problem there. And it is that she is too big here and too small down there for a woman. How old are you? What are you? 49. Yeah. I can only say I wish I was 49. It's a great age. It's right in the middle. Now, let me tell you what the body says to me about her history. It says that she was very close to her father emotionally when she was a little girl. Yes or no? Yeah, it would be 9. Yes or no? Yeah.